Welcome back to another episode of Tech Made Easy. Today we are going to be talking about two important hooks in React, UseEffect and UseCallback, and how they can sometimes cause an infinite loop in your code base. I once wrote about this on my blog and it brought quite a lot of reaction, comment and discussion. You can check the description on my YouTube channel for the link, so let's get right into it. Let's start with UseEffect. Imagine you're making your morning coffee. You put the water on to boil, you grab your mug, you're getting the sugar and the milk ready. Now you don't want to stop and drink your coffee before the water even boils, right? You wait for the water to finish boiling and then you move on to making the rest of your coffee. In React, UseEffect works the same way. It waits until everything on your screen is ready and then it runs. This is useful for tasks like fetching data from a server, things that don't need to happen immediately when your screen shows up. But here is the catch. Just like your coffee making, if you keep adding sugar and milk without thinking, you could mess up the taste. So if UseEffect runs every single time you grab sugar or milk, it can be a bit much. That is why we give UseEffect a rule. Only runs when I change something important like water and not the sugar. This is what we call the dependency. You tell UseEffect to do the thing when something on your must-watch list changes. UseEffect allows you to handle side effects, things that happen outside of your component render cycle, like fetching data from a server or subscribing to an event. It is essential to keep your UI clean and efficient. Without it, you have a messy out of order actions happening while React tries to render your component. The dependency array you pass in controls how often UseEffect should run. No dependency, it runs every time. Passing a list, it runs only when this item changes. Now, what about UseCallback? Let's switch gear. Imagine you're a chef in your kitchen. Every morning, you make the same sandwich, but every time you do, you keep rewriting the recipe, even though it is always the same sandwich. That is like your React component rebuilding a function over and over, even when it doesn't need to. Here is where UseCallback steps in. It is like saying, hey chef, you don't need to rewrite the recipe every time. Just remember it. Unless you add a new ingredient, stick with the old recipe. This makes things faster because now you're not wasting time doing the same thing repeatedly. Let's say you run a weekly grocery trip. You write your grocery list, you grab your bag, and you head to the store. But every week, you are rewriting your grocery list from scratch, even though you buy the same thing. Isn't that a waste of time? Instead, UseCallback tells you, just use last week's list unless you are buying something new. So why is this important? Without UseCallback, if you have a function inside your component that gets rebuilt every time your component renders, normally that is not a big deal, but it becomes an issue when that function is a dependency for UseEffect. If a function keeps getting rebuilt every time, the component re-renders. React thinks it is new and UseEffect triggers over and over. That is fine until the function inside the UseEffect does something that causes the component to render, like change the props or the state. This creates an infinite loop. React keeps going in circle, but with UseCallback, you are telling React only rebuild the function if the dependency change. This breaks that infinite loops and keep everything running smoothly. In short, UseEffect is like boiling your coffee water. React waits until everything else is ready before doing important tasks, and you can control when it happens. UseCallback is like reusing your grocery list. React doesn't have to rewrite it every time you go shopping unless something actually changes.